Hey everybody, Pastor Darrell from The Quest here. I'm running a lot later than I normally do again. Been one of those days, got a lot going, so I'm pressed for time. So I want to share a little bit of conversation. I had a phone call a little while ago from somebody I've known a long time. I'm talking 35, 40 years. And person struggling with their life and telling me they want to give their life right back, get their life right with God, having a hard time talking. And they said to me, God just requires so much of us, and I can't do it. And it caused me to stop and think, and I finally said to them, I said, according to the Word of God, that's not true. And he said, what do you mean? And I shared with him, one of the first verses I learned as a Christian myself, Micah 6:8 says, He has shown thee, O man, what is good and what the Lord requires of thee, but to do justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. And I decided I wanted to talk with you guys about that for just a little bit, because so many people want to try to put so many rules, regulations, requirements upon us. You know, churches, if you don't do this, if you don't do that. I mean, I've seen churches that if you didn't pay tithes, they would post your name on the bulletin board and they would run you out of the church and things of that nature. Now, I'm not saying whether or not you should pay tithes. I'm not even going to go there today. But the point is simply this. That's not God's requirement. God's requirement is very, very simple. Again, Micah 6:8 says, He hath shown thee, O man, what is good and what the Lord requires of you, but to do justly. Now, that may sound like a big, fancy religious word, but you know what that literally means? It means do the right thing. That's it, simply. Do the right thing. God doesn't expect more of us than this. Do the right things. At all times, in all seasons, in every situation, God expects us to do the right thing. That's pretty easy when you think about it. Then it says to love mercy. You know what that means? And during this political season, I need to put this out there. I've been trying to be very cautious about this. Listen, I'm going to call out wrong when I see it. But to wish hate, I mean, what we witnessed a week ago, people wishing and hoping that President Trump would die, man, we ought to never hope something like that on anybody. To love mercy means to love your enemies just as much as you love your own wife, your kids. You love everybody. Now, there's a difference in the type of love and how we express that love. But man, I don't want to see anybody hurting. I don't want to see anybody die. I don't want to see anybody go to hell. We should love mercy. And then the last part, to walk humbly with your God. You know what that is for me? I keep this in mind for me all the time. Now, some of you watching don't know anything about me, but most of you who know me personally know I pretty well trashed my life at one point. I was raised in the church. My father was a minister, as was his father before him. I was raised in the church. But I turned my back on God and I ran away. And if I got what I deserved, I'd spend the rest of my life in hell. And here on earth, I probably should have spent it in prison and then eternity in hell. But God, in His mercy and His grace, saw fit to forgive me, give me grace, to give me mercy. Mercy means even when I see people say things about, again, politicians especially, but other people that, yeah, they're wrong. They're promoting things that are wrong. There was one floating around yesterday that just turned my stomach. A woman wearing a shirt boasting on the fact that she had 29 abortions and people wishing her harm. What God says to walk humbly is to say this. First, express that mercy I just talked about, but it's also, but for the grace of God, there goes I. See, you and I would all be in the same boat without God and His mercy, and we need to be humble enough to admit that we're no better than anybody else. We've just been forgiven. He has shown thee, O man, what is good and what the Lord requires of you. To love mercy, to walk humbly with your God.